have a look at how things are looking in Group A World Cup qualifiers, you'll see that they're still in a spot of bother. They're in third place in the group, level with Northern Ireland and just above Luxembourg. And remember, it's only the top team that qualifies directly. And I think Germany is something that, or a team, Frank, that we expected that would have dominated this group. But Ale, what did you make of the game today? Was it a bit of crisis averted for Nagelsmann?
They were in trouble. In the second half, they were in trouble. The game was 1-1, and it's not like Germany were creating a whole bunch of chances and you were having the goalkeeper having to make saves here and there. That wasn't the case. They were not creating enough. Some of the decisions of Julian Nagelsmann in terms of who he brings on the field and who he takes off didn't quite make sense, because if you're chasing a win at home, I don't know why you are withdrawing attacking players for other attacking players. How about you take a risk? How about you add Max Bayer to play alongside Nick Woltemade and then have Wirtz to float in and around them, or Amiri to float in and around them? It felt like this was a team that could have passed you to death today, Germany. And they're going sideways and back and sideways and back and sideways and back. And because we're watching the game side by side, and you have here Spain and you have here Germany, Spain used to do the sideways and back. And it became, it's like, obsolete. It just so slow and so predictable. And that's not what they're doing now. Germany's now doing this. And they have players to actually stretch the back line. You think of Gnabry, what does he give you? Well, he can run in behind. You think of Florian Wirtz, he has enough speed where he can run in behind beyond Woltemade. But a lot of it was just in front of Northern Ireland. They became very predictable, and actually they depended on a huge mistake by the Northern Ireland goalkeeper that doesn't know what to do when the ball is played in behind. Do I go for the ball? Do I address the player? He does neither, and Amiri has a tap in. And now we eventually find a third goal with Wirtz. It's 3-1, and you're thinking, Germany's all good. I don't think so. No. Nine! They're not all good. This is a team that still has issues.
All the things that we spoke about Spain.
Lacking in Germany.
Germany were the complete opposite. They got 3 goals. Not one of the 3 goals was through good play from the German. You know, the first one's a ricochet, and it ends up with Gnabry going through. Second one, the goalkeeper's a complete shocker. It's actually gone to Amiri, and it wasn't supposed to go to Amiri. And then the third one's a free kick from outside the box. And in the actual game, they never created one clear chance where you're saying they should have scored. And this is against Northern Ireland, who are just a team that will run hard and chase and fight. And so, yeah, you might have won 3-1, but my goodness.
As a side note.
This was just horrible.
Sorry, Steve. As a side note, and this is very quickly, Nico Schlotterbeck, who was not playing, who was sitting in the box.
Yeah.
And the camera focuses on him. Northern Ireland scores, and this is supposed to be one of the candidates to be starting center back for Germany. Not playing today. He's laughing. He's enjoying it. Ha ha! Funny. I don't understand how that's funny. And if I were the coach of this team, if I were the manager of this team, and you're laughing at us getting scored on, at the very least, I would have a very stern conversation. At the very least. But I don't know. I think Germany think of themselves as a team that is just going to automatically qualify. You're going to have to play the games. You just lost to Slovakia, and this was a complicated game against Northern Ireland that was unnecessarily stressful. We assume that they're going to beat Luxembourg twice, but we don't know about Germany going into or playing against Slovakia at home or going into Northern Ireland and getting a result. We assume that they're going to be okay. But based on what we have seen so far, who knows?
Well, Julian Nagelsmann had some scathing words about his players after their loss to Slovakia. It'll be interesting to hear what he has to say. But let's hear what someone else, another big name in German football, has to say. This is Uli Hoeness. He's a Bayern Munich board member. He says, we're very satisfied at FC Bayern. We are the real winners of the summer transfer window. We have a strong team and didn't need to strengthen it much. Of course, we would have liked to have Florian Wirtz, but we'd never have bought him for 150 million euros. Nicholas Jackson is not a 16.5 million loan fee because the player and his agents are contributing 3 million, so that leaves 13.5 million. And there will definitely not be a permanent contract. That only happens if he plays 40 games from the start, and he will never do that. Oh my days. If you're Nicholas Jackson, I hope you are covering your ears and not reading the German press. But Ale, what on earth is going on here at Bayern?
you just mentioned Nicholas Jackson.
Yeah.
And this is a player that just joined your team, who's feeling good about himself because he just left a situation in Chelsea where he wasn't wanted.
Fought to leave that situation.
And he walks into Bayern Munich thinking, man, I'm full of life. Here I go. And then here comes Uli Hoeness and says, life. What life? You have no life. You're barely here. You had to pay to come here. And mind you, you think you're going to have a permanent contract here? No chance. 9. That's not happening. I don't understand how this explanation was needed from Uli Hoeness. I don't want, and if you feel like you have to give this explanation, it's because you know that you come up short in the transfer window. He's talking about the players that they didn't get, that they should have gone after, that they didn't go after, that they weren't going to afford, that they were not going to make an offer on, that they were going to pay this or not pay that. Right, okay. You still haven't addressed the fact that Alphonso Davies is going to be out for a long period of time because of an ACL injury. And so the left back position, you have Josip Stanisic playing there, who's a right-footed player. You haven't addressed the fact that you have Konrad Laimer playing right back, who's not a right back, who's a midfielder. You also haven't addressed the fact that in the midfield, if Joshua Kimmich or Leon Goretzka gets injured, you have Pavlovic, and that's it to take the position of any of those players. You haven't addressed the fact that actually Nicholas Jackson gives you some depth that you needed in the attack because a few players, including Leroy Sané, were allowed to walk out the door, but there was no answer for those players. And so he may say that they had a successful window. They had an okay window, but they didn't address some of their most dire needs. And the Nico Jackson situation is one that they needed to do because they were running out of time in order to cover for the potential absence of Harry Kane. This was not an excellent window for Bayern Munich.
Frank, you're probably the only pundit on this show that has even tried to stick up for Nico Jackson as well in this transfer saga. But if you're him, you're trying to reinvent your career, you're hoping for a new chapter in Germany, this is the last thing you'd want to hear one of the big bosses at Bayern talking about.
Clearly, but I think he was aware of that. I mean, he knows that it's going to be complicated for him to have a room in that team, and that he would play some minutes, you know, if Kane or somebody else, Gnabry, are injured, and before those two players, some others too. So he knows that 40 minutes is going to be hard to be made, but at the end of the day, you still have some hopes that at some point you will have a chance, and if you are good, you know that maybe the coins will flip and it's going to be better. But now you already know that if you reach 39 games, you're not going to play anymore. I mean, it was like a little bit Griezmann, you know, signing what he did, you know, contract, where he couldn't play some minutes every game and they had to be substituted with Atletico Madrid. It seems to be a little bit like that. You know that you have a, you have a ceiling, and you cannot go there above there because you're gonna be the problem. It's harsh to hear that, and as Ali said, I don't know why Uli Hoeness went public about that, because he doesn't need to. I mean, you can say, wow, we're going to see what is going to happen, and we're happy with the team we have and the squad we have, but that's it. But don't go into details. I mean, it's not worth it.
Stevie, you having a little chuckle there?
Well, I'm trying to put myself in Vincent Kompany's shoes. I'm thinking, as soon as I hear this, do I go straight round to Jackson's hotel or house, or do I wait till Monday morning to have a word? Because now he has to get him on board. And listen, football is the majority of us are pretty realistic. We know when we're in a situation, whether we're in the team, fighting to get in it, we figure all that out. But what you don't need when you know it's going to be tough to stay there at the end of this season, you don't need somebody slamming the door in your face. And that just makes it worse. It just makes it harder to come into training. It makes it harder sitting on the bench or in the squad if you're not even on the bench. So Vincent Kompany's going to have a man-to-man chat and try and build this guy up a little bit and at least get him to come in with a smile on his face if he can.
You just mentioned there, Stevie, that we tend to be realistic as players, and you know what your situation is. But also the reality of the sport is that there are injuries. So God forbid there's a long-term injury to Harry Kane. And now you're going to have to depend on Jackson. on the guy who you just told him, no,
he's not going to play.
So you just mentioned there, that the door was slammed in his face. This door had just been opened. And Jackson thought, okay, this is an opportunity. And out of nowhere, you've turned to the same player who you were giving life to and said, not so much. This is not for you, not just yet. Again, you don't know how the season develops, and you don't know how important Jackson may be. If you're Bayern Munich, you don't want him to be all that important because that means that Harry Kane is scoring goals for you. But what happens if Harry Kane is injured? Which can happen. It can happen in the game with England. It can happen in the next match with Bayern Munich. And you've already, unnecessarily so, for whatever reason, you've already put this guy to the side. I do not understand whatsoever.
All right, well, less than a week now for the Bundesliga to return on ESPN. Bayern Munich are in action on Saturday against Hamburg. But before that, on Friday, please join us for what looks like a really enticing one. Bayer Leverkusen, without Erik ten Hag, up against Eintracht Frankfurt. That's 2 p.m. Eastern Time on ESPN, also on ESPN+.